Hey guys, it's Edwin here, and today I'm going to be sharing about a very interesting topic. I'm going to be sharing about how our cultural and religious beliefs make us stick to those unhealthy relationships. You see, our culture and our religious beliefs will always have a huge impact in the kinds of relationship we stick with. This is because our culture dictates some of our behaviors and norms, and some cultures actually may be so rigid to the point that you ignore your own inner peace, your own happiness for the sake of following along or for the sake of sticking to your beliefs. And that's what I'll explain more in this video. And actually, this is one of those topics we don't really want to talk about because we can call it a sensitive topic, and you might mention something and you might find yourself getting backlash from people who are so entrenched into those cultures. So I'll just share it from my own perspective, and it's not an attack on your culture or anything, it's just from my own perspective. And yeah, very few of us will really stand up and challenge or see beyond those beliefs. And our perception of marriage and relationship, of course, will be greatly influenced by religious and cultural beliefs. In fact, like culture is like the bond in that marriage sometimes, because things like dowry or things like getting married in church. And when we stick so much to these aspects, we lose touch to our true voice. Our true voice here is that voice behind those beliefs. It's the voice of the pain you are feeling deep inside. Let's say you might be married, but the true voice is that pain you are feeling deep inside, not even the culture. So, regardless of which kind of belief system you subscribe to, just know that any kind of belief system is learned. Like you learn it, and it mostly depends on the environment you've been brought up in. And the thing is, your belief system will, of course, limit your independence. It will limit your independence in terms of your thinking and your decision making, because you'll be basing most of your decisions on what you believe in. And as I said, this video is not meant to challenge your belief system. I don't care so much about that. It's just meant to show you some aspects of culture and religion or your religious beliefs that may play a role in keeping you stuck in toxic relationships, in keeping you stuck in mostly toxic marriages or unhealthy marriages, so that at least you can find a way to maneuver through it. And the thing is, yes, maybe you are a bit enlightened or you are beyond culture, but of course there'll always be that person who's close to you in your close circle who's stuck in that toxic relationship because of their culture or their religious beliefs. Even for me, I've interacted with many people who are just stuck because of their religious beliefs. So it will help you. This video will help like shed some light so that you can be a bit compassionate with them and understand that they don't have much of a choice. So some of the aspects of culture that keeps us stuck is, the first one is the traditional family unit. This is a very huge one. So there's this general belief of keeping the traditional family unit. And this is one of those reasons why people get stuck in that toxic marriage. So depending on your culture, there's always this strong emphasis of maintaining that traditional family unit. Traditional family unit here means where there is a father, a mother, and children, even at the expense of your own inner peace, even at the expense of your own mental well-being. Is the attitude of persevere for the family, or family first, or blood is thicker than water. It's just a general emphasis on keeping the family together, keeping that traditional family unit together. So when you are fed with this, of course you'll feel ashamed, or you'll feel that if you leave that toxic relationship, you'll be betraying your family, you'll be betraying your community, or you'll be betraying your extended family. So the best thing to do is for you to stick to it. You may be dissatisfied with the relationship, you may be experiencing abuse, but you just don't want to look like an outcast in the family. You don't want to look like that person who left their husband or who left their wife. Like you don't want to live in a family which has no head and no helper, which is the husband and the wife. The other thing is, you yourself was raised in that traditional family unit, and What most people do is they want to stick to it because you want to do the same thing for your kids. And the thing about the traditional family unit is it's mostly seen as an indicator of stability in quotes. And of course, it will even earn you some sort of respect in society. In fact, in my village, they always say that you cannot be a village elder if you are not in a stable marriage. Like, how can you lead when you can't stay in a stable marriage? So that's how it is. So almost all cultures cares less about what's happening behind the scenes, like what's happening to you in the relationship or in the marriage. No, they just want to see you in any form of marriage. So the fact that a traditional family unit is viewed as a sign of stability, prestige, and happiness, of course, on the outside, because people will see like this is a very happy marriage, they've been together for 20 years, will make some of us stick to those unhealthy relationships. The second one is, gender roles and expectations. And with gender roles here, I'll be talking about woman and man. That's what I know best. So, our cultures are filled with these toxic gender roles, which can, of course, keep us stuck with toxic relationship patterns. So, your gender identification as like a man or a woman will always carry some expectations, will always carry some roles to it. And the most common ones are actually man as the provider and protector of the family, and the woman to be submissive to the man. That's the most common one. So, what happens is this, depending on, of course, how you interpret these kind of connotations or these kind of roles, it can imply that for the woman, you will have to sacrifice your own well-being and sacrifice your inner peace, or even sacrifice your life for the sake of your husband's happiness. You see? So you sacrifice yourself for the sake of your husband's happiness or even for your children's happiness. So it doesn't really take into consideration things like your boundaries, how you're supposed to be treated by your husband, or reciprocity. So if a woman, if you, let's say you're a woman, if you find yourself in a toxic relationship, you will of course stick to it because you don't want to upset your partner. After all, it's your job to make them happy. So when you leave, they'll feel lonely and sad. So it's better to stick to it. Another thing is, in some cultures, in fact, most cultures, a woman is not really encouraged to fend for themselves, like, or to have their own money, or to just be financially independent, because the man is the one who will provide for the family, right? So when that relationship turns out to be toxic, it will of course limit the independence of the woman because they don't have money to fend for themselves, they don't have money to pay their bills or to cater for their basic needs, and they don't even know how to look for money. So they'll just find themselves stuck because they lack that economic independence. So then on the other hand, for men have been conditioned to have this dominant and fearless masculine nature, like no crying, you have to stand up as a man. So when a man gets abused or they fall into the hands of a female, let's say a female covert narcissist, a man will not come out and even dare share that they are going through abuse, like they are being abused by a woman. Like, it's not possible for a man to be abused. So, because it will look unmanly. In fact, most of my clients, men who have interacted with it, normally don't come out because of that. They just that fear of being seen as a lesser man. So they'll maintain that abusive relationship because they want to preserve their masculinity. The third one, and a very, very huge one, is of course religious beliefs. Oh, I've interacted with some beautiful human beings, some beautiful faces in this space who are just so tied to their abusive relationships because of what they believe, because of their religion. In fact, they feel so helpless to live. Even for me, sometimes when I interact with them, I really feel that there's nothing I can do to like empower them or to really show them the door. And one aspect of religion that makes people stick to it is religion in itself discourages divorce and it even views it as a sin, which makes it really hard for someone to even view leaving that marriage as an option. Like when something is a sin, it will always be about preserving the marriage out of fear of course, maybe fear that you'll burn in hell or God in quotes will punish you. So the thought of going against God in quotes is more painful than sticking to the toxic relationship. Let's say when you think of the fires in hell, the way we've been described, you will feel that it's much better to stick to this relationship because I don't want to upset God in quotes. Of course, all this depends on your interpretation or what your spiritual teachers are teaching you. Another thing is religious teachings will always emphasize on forgiveness and compassion. Yeah, forgiveness and compassion are really, really beautiful things. But when you are dealing with a serial manipulator or someone who's very abusive, then it will land you in trouble. This is because when you subscribe to these general feelings of, let's say, forgive, I think it's just 70, I think it's 70 times, I don't know what, you may interpret them as the reason why you need to forgive your cheating or your hurtful partner. Like you just need to forgive them. You just need to be compassionate with them. They are in pain. They are undergoing trauma. They are undergoing depression. Even when they keep repeating the same toxic behaviors, you just know that you just have to be compassionate without really looking at the fact that you're not also compassionate with yourself. In fact, that's one of the reasons why you may not set boundaries or even hold them accountable for their actions or for their toxic behaviors, because you just forgive and forgive because you're compassionate. And so religion can be quite complicated, but as I said, of course, it always depends on your interpretation of that religion or the interpretation of your religious or spiritual teacher. Yeah, because some religions may empower people to leave a toxic relationship, but some may like, no, don't leave. The last one is, of course, general stigma around divorce. So this also this general aspect of viewing divorcees or viewing people who've left relationships as failures. Yeah, we celebrate weddings with expensive banquets, expensive treats, families coming together. But a divorce is mostly done silently. I've never seen even people come out and say, like, we are celebrating a divorce, maybe just a few enlightened cultures. So our culture encourages people to come together and get married. But there is no one word around leaving if things get sour, leaving if things get toxic. They may mention it, but it will just be, let's say, 1% in 99% preserving the relationship. Of course, just a few enlightened cultures will view divorce as a normal thing, but depending on our stage of development, we might view something as it's not really something which we even need to talk about. So there's just this general aspect of seeing divorce as a bad thing. And it's just better to hide behind that abusive marriage or that abusive relationship than even talk about it. Like a few people will come out and talk about their toxic marriage. Even the wedding vows in themselves, they emphasize so much on permanence of marriage in front of your own inner peace. It's more of when you are committed or when you are married, you are supposed to commit to it till the end, not till abuse. Oh, yes, even those wedding vows are more like this: till death do us apart. Which, of course, if it was something like till abuse do us apart, it would make it much easier because any sign of abuse, someone would leave. But now, because of death, someone sees that this is a matter of do or die kind of situation. Like I just have to make it work. So the entry is clear. The entry is clear, but the exit is full of stigma, threats, fear, and a whole lot of dragons, demons you have to slay before you leave. In fact, like the aspect of permanence, and this aspect of permanence sometimes may hide behind this word called commitment, but still permanence is the thing which is holding most of your relationships together. It's not even love or growth, it's just commitment and permanence. Not even inner peace, not even your own mental health. No, it's just the aspect of permanence. So this general stigma around living will make it hard to live, and only the courageous and the brave few will pull it off. let's say someone is a bit of enlightened, or someone has studied these things, and someone just have they have high self-esteem, they want to go against society, they might break out. So there are just many aspects of culture and religion that may make you stick to those unhealthy marriages, those unhealthy relationships. And actually, this content is enough to fill a book. But if you really want to learn more and really understand how deep this is, just look around you. Look at yourself. Are you sticking to that relationship or that abusive marriage because of your religion or your culture? Or is it your own choice? You really find that you don't have much of a choice. And the thing is, it is not easy to break free from these patterns, because your relationship is not just between you and your partner. No, it's more of a relationship between you, your in-laws, your partner, your culture, and your religious beliefs. So to break out, you have to go against all those things, not just your partner. So when you leave, you have to go against some aspects of culture and some aspects of religion. That's why it's not easy. And these things you've been conditioned with since you were a kid. Like, they've become like a normal thing to you. You can't really see beyond it. Like, you can't really see beyond those things we learned in childhood. That's why leaving a toxic relationship will always be a difficult and a complex decision, because it depends on your inner strength. And of course, your inner strength has been eroded by that abusive relationship. And it also depends on how deeply entrenched, or how deeply stuck you are with your culture and your religious beliefs. But regardless of your belief system, regardless of what you believe in, just know that no one, even your God, your ancestors, will want you to suffer and be in pain. It just can't be. Like, God or your ancestors will never want you to suffer or to be in pain. So always prioritize your own well-being. Even if you don't want to challenge those religious beliefs, what you can do is you can work on yourself. Work on the pain you are feeling, work on the anxiety, work on the depression, work on the trauma. And then once you've worked on that, you will get a better interpretation and a better understanding of even those scriptures and beliefs without pain or trauma getting in the way. The thing is, we interpret those scriptures, or we interpret what our culture is feeding us with, through the lens of pain. So when there's no pain, you can interpret those scriptures and those things culture feed you with without your past painful experiences getting in the way. So you'll have a better interpretation, and you'll realize that actually maybe what you are being told is not what it is, and maybe there's a better interpretation. Hope you found that informative, guys. So challenge those aspects of culture. No one wants you to stay in pain, and that's the ultimate freedom. Until next time, have a nice day.